The Dross plant has divided Cessnock Council more than any other development. Last night, Council changed its stance on the recycling facility, indicating it does not support the proposal. However, the decision is likely to have little, if any, effect after last week's in-principle approval by the state government. Whether the plant is built in Curry has become a very bitter issue. Security guards were at last night's meeting after alleged threats against the mayor and her family. Councillor Graham Burstone refuted the mayor's claims. When she refused to hear his questions, he called for her to resign. The mayor withstood the furor of the independents. Outside, though, the anger of residents continued. The resident groups say they'll continue their fight in the Land and Environment Court. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
Jubilation, I think you could put it down to. Now we're very happy now. We think we've got a bigger, a better sailing club, and hopefully if we can fill it up with boats, we're going to have one of the best clubs on the lake.
People were turned away from offices in Newcastle and on the North Coast today. Only crisis cases were dealt with. District officers who care for abused children say their workload is too high. According to the Public Service Association, the Department of Community Services officers, who are specially trained in people skills, are forced to do clerical and administrative chores, leaving little time for their real work. According to the union, since 1989, notifications of child abuse or neglect have increased by 64%, while numbers of district officers have actually decreased by 6% across the state. The union is calling for more clerical workers to be employed so district officers can get on with the job. More industrial action is being threatened.
This will be an ongoing campaign throughout the state, and it could lead to other forms of industrial action further down the track.
if you can handle this sort of competition, the challenge may just be for you, taking on a round-the-world yachtsman Alan Nabor. But this isn't your usual race, it's for all comers, sea, land and sky.
Bus and train and cycles, motorcycles, all manners of transport. We might even get some walkers to walk. We'll give them a head start.
The Lord Mayor of Newcastle, Councillor John McNaughton, wants his city to be a focus when the Around the World Yacht Race has a pit stop in Sydney early next year. So there'll be a great race from Sydney to Newcastle, a handicap system giving everyone a chance. It's also a call to give financial support to Alan Nabor and the Newcastle Australia campaign to cover ongoing costs. Meanwhile, the BOC races are still resting in Cape Town before heading to Oz. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The ferocity of last night's wind took its toll on this home in Morree's Stonington estate. Its roof landed in nearby bushland, the insulation caught in the front fence. This nearby house also lost its roof, but the home of neighbour Terry Piccone survived the tempest. He says he was terrified. Closer to town, these flats bore the brunt of the storm. Across the road, the trail of damage continued and the Burke and Wills Motor Inn in North Moree will need extensive roof repairs. All over town, power lines were torn down, ripped from their moorings. North West Electricity crews with backup from Inverell, Warrialda and Gundawindi are working feverishly to restore power. An estimated 30 homes won't have electricity until tomorrow. Trees caused the most damage.
We brought down high voltage and low voltage lines. And poles, there's been a couple of poles go over as well.
The damage bill is yet to be calculated.
The town of Maitland is buzzing over the call by Lumino Australia to try and move its industrial dross plant back onto a Rutherford site.
My phone has been running hot all weekend. I have had more phone calls on this single issue than I have on any other single issue in my past 7 years on council.
Dross is a byproduct of aluminium, and initial moves to set up at Rutherford and later Curry have been met by howls of protest from environmentalists. Alumino is challenging Maitland Council in the Land and Environment Court after being rejected by Council 5 months ago. State member for Maitland Peter Blackmore is stunned by the move, saying, "Who is Alumino having on? The company shouldn't even bother as it has no chance in Maitland." With the state election just a matter of months away, the opposition is looking for some political points. In this marginal seat of Maitland, the dross debate could well affect swinging voters. Labor candidate for the seat, Tony Keating, who is opposed to the plant, says the state government created the problem in the first place.
The New South Wales government encouraged Lumino Australia to come here. They set up a development organisation which is now defunct called the Lower Hunter Development Corporation. They assisted or facilitated the processing of the application.
Mr Keating wants a public commission of inquiry into the matter, but the State Planning Department says this isn't possible, as Maitland Council has already voted against the proposal. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Betty Staples died in Cessnock Hospital on Wednesday night. Today, in keeping with her wishes, her family and friends travelled by bus to Sydney's Rookwood Cemetery to bury her beside her mother in a plot bought more than 20 years ago.
She said when she was in hospital last time that if anything happened to her, she wanted to be next to her mum.
A mix-up, however, left the mourners waiting for most of the afternoon. Eventually, the family started digging the grave themselves.
We jumped in there and ourselves, we've dug most of this bit here, all this. Her sons and her friends all got in and helped.
Ignoring the family's wishes, officials at the cemetery had dug the grave for Mrs Staples on the edge of a car park, nowhere near the purchased plot. They claimed the family site was too dangerous and the walls would collapse. However, when our cameras arrived, those problems no longer seemed to exist. On orders from their union, the council employees started digging where the family had started. But the trauma for the Staple family didn't end there. Another body was discovered in the plot, which was supposed to be vacant. A short time ago, it was decided to open up Mrs Staples' mother's grave and bury both in the same plot. Police are now being called in to investigate the identity of the other body, which Rookwood Cemetery has no record of. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
Describing tomorrow's strike as pointless and claiming industrial action will solve nothing, the Education Minister's counter-offer to the teachers' 10% pay claim has been widely rejected.
The Minister's counter-offer does not offer anything different than the previous offer. The Minister inserted a new clause into the agreement that said that there would be a review and the government might pay teachers some more money.
The Federation says it expects most of the Hunter's 5,865 public school teachers will walk off the job. They'll be joined by the majority of their TAFE colleagues.
I think teachers feel that there is no option left, that we've gone down for 6 months now. We've tried to negotiate with the Minister. However, the Minister says that the quantum and the time of the agreement are not negotiable, so there is no room to move.
Nearly 84,000 students will be affected by the stoppage. While some schools will remain open, providing limited supervision, many principals have told parents to keep students at home. Teachers will hold mass meetings at 33 venues across the Hunter tomorrow. If their demands aren't met, they'll be voting to walk off the job again when students return to school next year.
Talking to teachers around this area, teachers are very angry, and I would say that the proposition will be carried overwhelmingly.
Melinda Smith, NBN News. It's in the early years of development that problems with hearing can be picked up. These toddlers at Katara South Nursery are among the school's 16 hearing impaired students who are all taking part in an auditory skills program.
Deaf children don't just learn to listen like hearing children do. They are fitted with hearing aids, or they may get a cochlear implant, but they then have to be taught to listen. And this program develops those listening skills.
Sylvia Romanick devised the program after the Education Department identified the need to further help students with hearing losses ranging from severe to profound. Her support material has been adopted in other states as well as overseas.
Good, do this one for me. Caw, caw, caw. Caw, caw, caw. Beautiful.
And it's been a great way to develop the skills of the children and also the teachers. They're using their hearing much more. The teachers are aware of how to assess and develop what hearing the children have.
While the scheme encourages students to increase their residual hearing, it's also preparing them for integration into mainstream classes.
If they can mix in the school setting, it sets them up for mixing in later life. So integration's an essential part of any education plan.
Melinda Smith, NBN News. If Council was wondering about the level of community concern surrounding the city's environmental future, last night's response removed any doubts. In the first of 4 workshops, the group gathered at the Stockton RSL was on a mission, identifying areas of concern in the city.
One of the best things that came out of the night was there was a whole range of issues that people are concerned about and the council can actually make some improvements on.
Air quality, waste management and energy use came under fire, council calling on individuals to help find solutions.
We really need the community to get involved in that plan and to participate over the next few months.
Council plans to gather the various strategies and produce an overall management plan to guide Newcastle's environmental future.
It's an initiative under our City Enhancement Plan and we'll be releasing a draft in April next year and that will be available for comment.
The next workshop will be held at City Hall tomorrow night.
The report details complaints from drug users about the needle exchange program, which moved from Newcastle West to shared premises with the methadone clinic in Newcastle East. They're concerned about the new building's proximity to the police station and the risk of being seen by friends and family because of its very public position. Also, there are fears that clients may be discouraged from taking methadone if they can just as easily get clean needles for heroin.
It's recommended that we engage a consumer group to represent intravenous drug users and clients of the service to settle the issue.
If that group recommends splitting the needle exchange program and the methadone program, would you do it?
Well, if that's the recommendation, clearly that's something we'd need to do. There's no point in having a service if it's not meeting the needs of the clients.
The advisory committee would also identify how the needle exchange service can be expanded.
We're looking forward to setting up an ongoing advisory committee so that we expand those outlets, particularly the west of Lake Macquarie and further outlets in the Hunter Valley.
The report will be distributed for public comment. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
It's been almost 10 years since a survey of traffic and parking patterns was done in Maitland. Then it concentrated solely on the central business district. Increased traffic flows on inner city and rural roads have highlighted the need for a more widespread study. Maitland Council has commissioned Sydney-based company Transportation Environment Consultants to do a comprehensive analysis of Maitland and surrounding villages like Morpeth and Largs.
We will actually be looking at things as basic as where the major routes will be or should be in the future.
A coordinated roads network is also seen as vital to meeting the needs of a growing population. 50,000 people currently live in Maitland and the surrounding area, but over the next 20 years, that figure is expected to increase to 75,000.
We're already seeing the effect of existing growth on some particular traffic bottlenecks that we have in the city, some parking demand that at some times is not well met.
The study will begin within the next 3 weeks, a major part involving community input through workshops.
We don't necessarily have all the answers, and people who are out there every day using the roadworks and parking their cars will have ideas on what should be happening.
It's expected to take 6 months. Council will use the results to help formulate a blueprint for its future spending on upgrading works for road and parking facilities. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
Newcastle and North Coast match was delayed by an hour and a quarter this morning due to yesterday's downpour, but it had little effect on the North Coast, who won the toss and made a solid start with the bat. Gosford's Andrew Sainsbury and Bowraville's Trevor Baldwin consolidated the innings. After 30 overs, the North Coast was 1 for 89. The pair then lifted the run rate, bringing up the next 100 from 15 overs, putting on 170 for the second wicket before Newcastle captain Mark Curry made the breakthrough. Sainsbury dismissed for 83. In the closing overs, Jeff Cook claimed the wicket of Glenn Anderson, with Baldwin run out on the last ball of the innings for 82, giving Newcastle a target of 217 from 50 overs. Meantime, the highlight of the match between the ACT and the North West was an unbeaten century by Canberra's Michael Frost. Frost put his side in an unbeatable position, a magnificent 173, leaving the ACT at 5 for 293 at the end of 50 overs. Newcastle take on the ACT tomorrow, while North Coast play the North West. The last of the 9 contests in the Grand Prix series concluded today in a weak metre surf. Andy Brinkworth of Catherine Hill Bay qualified for today's two-man final against Mitch Dawkins, the latter doing enough to impress the judges. While Dawkins and Brinkworth enjoyed the grand final spoils, they finished 4th and 3rd respectively in the series, won by the Cliffs' Darren Burgess, who was eliminated in the semi-finals today. It was a similar story in the juniors, with the Nelson Bay duo of Gary Hubbard and Russell Betts finishing 1st and 2nd in the grand final, while the series was taken out by Catherine Hill Bay's Christian McCall. Miss Kariba, ridden by apprentice Mark Noonan, made it 3 on the trot and returned $3.40 and $2 even. La Gisquet paid $4.30, while there was no third dividend for Shikulu. Overnight leader Neil Bates maintained an 8-second lead for the first couple of stages today before gearbox problems struck, his Toyota Celica losing second gear. New Zealander Joe McAndrew inherited the lead. That too was short-lived as he tried to prove that Kiwis can fly. With McAndrew forced out of the race, veteran Western Australian Ross Dunkerton grabbed the lead on the 4th stage, with Bates hanging on to outright second. His main rival for the championship, Newcastle's Michael Guest, continues to struggle. He hit a tree today and is now out of contention in 30th position, 14 minutes behind. For backmarker Scott Gurney, the end to his rally came suddenly when he landed his Datsun 1200 badly after a jump, rolling the car off the road. Both driver and co-driver escaped injury. Boyce won each of his heats convincingly in the championship, scoring a maximum 25 points to claim the title for the 3rd time in succession. Sydney rider Mick Poole finished second, 3 points behind, while Cessnock's Chris Watson finished 3rd, qualifying for the national title in Gosford. In other events, former national sidecar champion Darren Treloar won the Tooheys feature, while the litre car event was marred by a 3-vehicle collision in the main straight, all drivers able to walk away from the accident. In baseball, the Hunter Eagles split their final doubleheader with the Canberra Bushrangers in the ACT last night to finish with a 3-1 record for the weekend, their best ever away performance. The Eagles won Game 3 7-0 before dropping Game 4 by a run. Newcastle openers Steve Mason, Murray Christie made a bright start in their match against the ACT, bringing up the 50 in just 11 overs. Veteran all-rounder Greg Irvine finally provided the breakthrough, Christie chopping the ball onto his stumps. Next over, Mace departed, and at 2 for 56, the experienced pair of Arms and Curry steadied the defending champions' innings. Both were dismissed in their 30s, while middle-order batsman Phil Stambridge scored a rapid 37, which included 4 sixes, enabling Newcastle to post 238 from their 50 overs. Meantime, the Northwest openers Greg Thrift and Glenn Drimmen put on a century opening stand before the North Coast claimed 3 quick wickets. Off-spinner Andrew Sainsbury continued his good carnival, capturing 4 for 22. The Northwest restricted to 195 from 50 overs. In 1980, Yvonne Goolagong Corley won her second Wimbledon title, becoming the first mother to take out tennis's greatest prize in 70 years. Her motherly instincts have now extended to nurturing Australian tennis via her Search for a Star program, which Yvonne admits has rekindled thoughts of her past.
It does bring back memories for me, just seeing the young girls, seeing the excitement and their sort of the hopefulness in their eyes, and that makes me happy.
From today's 12 and under girls, Kelly Starr was selected to join Yvonne's program, which will include a 2-week camp during the Australian Open in Melbourne. It's all part of Yvonne's busy lifestyle these days, which lately has included goalkeeping for the Noosa women's soccer team, and next year will feature a return to the court in the US to play in the new women's senior circuit.
I'm at a stage in my life where, I just want to do things that I really enjoy. This program is one, trying other sports is another, and now I have the opportunity to go back to America, see my friends, and play tennis just for old time's sake.
Once the business hub of the coalfields, a worrying trend is developing in Cessnock. In the past 12 months, around 25 stores have closed, with supply simply exceeding demand. While the town's unemployment rate of 17% exacerbates the situation, the absence of a major mixed retail store in the central business district is perceived as the major compounding factor.
Well, I think those smaller retailers need a larger retailer to feed off, if you like, and if people can't get a certain good within the local CBD, they travel outside to one of those one-stop shop centres in Charlestown, for example, and I think while they're there, they tend to do their other shopping as well.
The Chamber of Commerce believes organised bus trips to shopping complexes in larger cities hasn't helped.
The local people take stock of the situation and ask themselves the question, can they buy that item in town? It's just so important that they keep the dollars here.
Joel Fitzgibbons applauds the new cinema, but claims it's left Cessnock without a building large enough to house a major variety store like Venture or Target. He's pushing for the construction of a new facility, but says that could take 2 years. He believes some interim measures can be taken.
We've got 600,000 visitors visiting the vineyard area every year. Our surveys show that only about 10% of them stop. Now, if we can add that, double that to 20%, that's an extra 60,000 people a year in the CBD.
Hoping to attract these visitors, Council has allocated $150,000 for beautifying and improving the main street, making it more user-friendly with greater open spaces, parking and shaded areas. Catherine Lamond, NBN News. Newcastle Civic Theatre became Kansas, USA on Sunday night as the Marie Walton Mann Dance Academy staged its annual production bonanza titled A Night to Remember. It began with The Wizard of Oz, this old favourite providing the audience with plenty of fantasy and colour. And The Wizard just wouldn't be complete without The production also featured ballet, including the innovative contemporary piece The Power of Freedom and the classic La Foule Malgarde. Colin Pearsley, a principal dancer with the Australian Ballet Company, was the guest artist. His partner, the Hunter's Teresa Webster, is one of 4 talented local dancers selected among 70 Australia-wide to attend probation week at the Australian Ballet School in Melbourne. The 3 other Hunter dancers joining her include Bonnie O'Brien, Jane Lawrence and Grant Turner. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
The needle and she can't slow walking the dog.
In the Crampton family, there are 2 emerging champions. At the recent Australian amateur titles in Melbourne, Jamie and younger brother Ben took out the senior and junior light welterweight divisions. Father and trainer Mick Crampton's formula of daily dousings in the backyard ring at their Quarraballong home is obviously working. While 16-year-old Ben had 2 national schoolboy titles under his belt, it was a first-time win in the junior light welterweight section.
The last fight was very hard. I fought Dwayne Crowe. He's got the best sparring partners in Australia, Les Strells, Cliff St Martin.
At 18, Jamie is a more seasoned competitor. He's been gathering Australian amateur honours since 1988. Having successfully defended his senior light welterweight title, Jamie's now considering turning pro.
I've got to get around and get some good sparring that with a lot of professionals and that to see how I go. Yeah, I reckon I could do it.
The next challenge for the pair is an invitational international competition in Queensland early next year. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.